Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's special tech guests. But first, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. These are companies that I used as an athletic director or I've got a direct connection to. You should be using them too. So don't hit that fast forward button. Stay with us for the next 4 minutes. Listen to the shout outs, then listen to our great Tech Tuesday segment. Then reach out to these sponsors. You're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Gipper for their support of the podcast. Go to Gipper.com. Their team's going to show you how to create world-class marketing content to celebrate your athletes and promote your teams. Gipper's used and trusted by over 4,000 high school and college programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com, mention the podcast. You'll get a nice discount. Gipper.com. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every day. Things like scheduling, student athlete eligibility and clearance. Who doesn't do that every day? Uploading rosters and communicating with your coaches, your parents, your kids, you name it. Home Campus does it faster, does it better. It's going to give you a lot more time back in your schedule. To get started, all you need to do is go to homecampus.com. That's it. Go to homecampus.com. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their scoreboards and their score tables in action. Their products not only generate income for your department, they create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We want to thank our friends at Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more support, more security, more customization. Talk to the folks at hometownticketing.com. They're here to help you make the best online ticketing solution. We want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the sports, or your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. It's also a great way to share your school's unique history, highlight your student athletes, and talk about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today. We'd like to say thanks to the Ohio University Online Master of Science and Athletic Administration program. This affordable 20-month online master's focuses exclusively on interscholastic athletic administration. When you finish, you're not only going to have your master's degree, you're going to have 11 NIAAA leadership training courses that can go towards your RAA or your CAA. You'll also be part of a vast graduate network with connections in K-12 athletics across the country. To get started, go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Master of Science in Athletic Administration. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then got little, if any, return on your investment? Stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you found it. Go to snapraise.com. We want to thank Huddle for their support. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I wanted a platform that was going to serve all of our student athletes and teams, and Huddle came through like a champ. Our coaches loved it, our student athletes, our parents loved all the tools that Huddle provided that let our kids experience athletics at the highest level. Join the 8 million users. Go to huddle.com. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic directors already get feedback, but usually it's from a very small group that just want to complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And that's tremendously valuable information to have when you're talking with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them create a custom survey that's going to let you take the pulse of everybody in your program. athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. As we frequently do, we've got one of our sponsors on, probably the sponsor that's been with us the longest since we started the podcast. From Hometown Ticketing, we're very honored to have Jessica Tyrrell. She is the Vice President of Customer Experience. First of all, let's go ahead and say welcome to the Educational AD Podcast. Thanks for coming on, Jessica.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jake, for having me. I'm really honored to be here and excited.
Well, we were talking before we started recording. You and I met at the recent national conference. I was very impressed, with two things. You're just enthusiasm, out of the, starting blocks, explosive there. And you also, I think, were one of the winners at the left, right, center game that one night. So, very impressive debut at the national conference. Let's go and jump into the tech part. We always like our listeners to have a chance to get to know our guests. So we mentioned you're new to the Hometown leadership team. You've been on the job now for several months, but tell us a little bit about your background and why you chose to come and work for the leading digital ticketing provider, Hometown Ticketing.
Awesome. Thank you, Jake. And yes, I was lucky enough to win left, right, center for the first round. So very exciting. I actually had Dan Talbot come over to me and say, hey, if you're going to take their money, that's not a good start. So sorry to everybody who lost who lost that night. But yeah, thank you again for having me on the podcast. And again, very excited to be here. So just a little bit about me. So I've been in the customer experience space for over 20 years. I started my career out as a technical CSM, so grew up through the ranks, and customer success is really in my blood. The last several years, I've been recruited to organizations like Medallia and Beamery and now Hometown to basically grow and scale the customer success organization to make sure that I'm removing any of the friction points that customers are feeling throughout the journey, and using the platform, but also being an advocate for the CSM team, the support team, the training and enablement team to ensure that their voices are heard internally and ensuring that the voices that the customer, the AD in this case, is resonating, right? And then that I am unblocking any of those challenges to make sure that they're successful. So I like to wrestle problems to the ground and really address the root cause of the challenge. I tell the team we should be addressing new challenges every single week, right? If we're dealing with the same problem week over week, something is broken. So over the last 20 years in customer success and building and scaling teams, I got a phone call related to Hometown. In the first 30 minutes that I was on the phone with Nick Marissis, who is our CEO, I could tell that customer centricity was something that he was also very, very passionate about. And for me to be successful in my role as the VP of customer experience, basically owning all of the touch points for our customers, it's really important that you have the support of the executive team, especially the CEO. And Nick is the first person that will jump on the phone or jump on a plane to go visit a customer. And so to have somebody like that in your corner to support your customers is absolutely critical. So that is actually something new for me. As previous organizations, they lose their way a bit, right, in terms of the customer and the focus on the customer. And Nick is really passionate around making sure that we are taking things off of the plates of the ADs and really making their lives more simplistic, right? So working 90 hours a week, being responsible for the community, and maybe even a second parent to some of the kids in their community, taking calls from the school board, taking calls from the superintendent, having, referees not show up to games. Like there's a lot that these ADs have on their plates, and we need to ensure that we are addressing their ticketing related issues and making sure that the day of events are seamless. So anything that we can do to make sure that those events go smoothly and they don't have to take phone calls from angry fans or angry students or et cetera, gives us a lot of satisfaction.
Well, as I was listening to you, I was taken back to our probably about 3 minute conversation in your booth. Again, just the enthusiasm. I love those terms you mentioned. Remove friction points. I think that is just such a visual as well as an auditory signal. And then your expression, your job, you see your job as wrestling problems to the ground. Oh, I
Right.
love that. Okay. I want to come and work for your team. Okay.
You're
Um,
welcome anytime.
um, Jessica, I would hope that our listeners, know that, hometown ticketing is, like we say, the leading digital ticketing provider, but it's more than, let's say, just tickets. Since you've come on board, what have been some of the other features or platforms that have really stood out for you? Like, hey, that's pretty cool, that you would want to, maybe highlight in this Tech Tuesday segment.
Yeah, so that great question. And we've spent a lot of time over the last several months leaning into the feedback from our customers and really understanding, whether it's, Wi-Fi issues in a rural community or a field that isn't as close to, the main facility. So self-redemption, offline scanning is something that we are bringing to market in June, July of this year. So really understanding sort of what's working well, which, we met at NEDC, and I can tell you that every single existing customer that came up to the booth had a big smile on their face. Wow, Hometown is so easy to use. It's so intuitive. We love your customer success. We love our CSM. Your support team is amazing. When I need something, you guys are there within 5 minutes. This is not a matter of hours or days. ADs, when they need something, they need it immediately. I've been meeting with athletic secretaries and finance teams, and reporting is absolutely critical to make sure that those funds are delivered to the right teams and in a timely manner, because they depend on that money. So we have been on a mini roadshow meeting with customers, getting feedback, good, bad, or ugly. I'm a huge John Wayne fan, so we want to hear what's working well. We always know that there's room for improvement, but also tell us exactly what your challenges are, and really going back to the product team and sitting down and having a conversation around what can we deliver for this fall that will make those experiences even more seamless. So we actually are in the process of building out a customer facing roadmap. So ADs will be able to see exactly what we're bringing to market every single quarter. So self-redemption, offline scanning, advanced reporting, those are just some of the enhancements that we're bringing to market in the June, July timeframe.
Wow, that's very impressive. And I've heard that too. I retired a few years ago just as online ticketing was coming into vogue, but obviously I've kept my finger on the pulse of athletics, and I hear that again and again from athletic directors across the country about that relationship they have with their client success manager from Hometown. You kind of touched on this, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it again. There's a lot of when an athletic director is considering using an online ticketing platform, they've got a lot of choices, and there's a lot of good companies out there. From your perspective, based, what you've seen firsthand at the company and the feedback that you have gotten, what are, let's say, the top three reasons that an athletic director should choose Hometown Ticketing for their online ticketing platform?
Well, number one, I would say your fans love us. They love the app. They love the simplicity. I went to the Southeast Girls Wrestling Championship in Quakertown, so I live an hour north of Philadelphia. And the volunteers who were responsible for the event, the gate agents, they were absolutely raving about how simple it was, and that they didn't have to take cash, and that there's a QR code that they are able to scan and get people in, hundreds of people in less than 5 minutes. There were no lines, there's no stress. They're able to go back to watching their children participate in the events and support their community. So I would say number one, the fans love it, right? Number two, it's intuitive, and we have the flexibility and the customization depending on what you're trying to do with your program. So whether it's a customized box office or whether it's the ticket price that you want to charge, we have the flexibility to serve the community based on what your needs are. And then I would be remiss, and it might sound a little biased, but our service, and I think it speaks for itself. The hometown team, it's the first thing that we think about every single day. Every time we start a meeting, it's all about our customers and what we can do to improve the customer experience. I have CSMs that, you know, a woman was in labor and was answering emails to her customer. Now, I'm obviously I'm working on solutions to make sure that we have coverage, so that way when people are on vacation or people are in labor, because that happens, that we have coverage, and that people don't need to respond to those emails. But that's how passionate the hometown team is about making sure that our customers get what we need.
Well, Jessica, before we still going to talk a little bit more, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and find out more about the platform, of course, there's the website, but what's the best way for them to find out more information and get started with the hometown team?
Well, I can give you my cell phone number. It's 402-937-3147, but you can also email success@hometownticketing.com.
Okay. Um, we're recording this, listeners. We're recording this on April 3rd. So it's going to be very timely when you hear it. I'm actually going to be out at the Oregon Athletic Directors Conference, which right now it's next week. When you're listening to it, it's going to be this week. What's your next stop on the road, Jessica? Are you going to come out to Oregon, spend some time with me?
Well, yes, we will be there. I personally won't be there, but we will have hometown represented. We have a very busy conference schedule. I was actually just out in Sacramento at the 3C 2A conference. But yeah, we have a very, very busy conference season, and we will be in Oregon.
All right. Well, stop by the booth for sure. You know, I'm going to be delivering their keynote and also a workshop. So excited to be there.
Wonderful. Well, tell Kyle, Kyle, if you're listening from the Oregon State Association, hello, and sorry I'll miss you, but we will have a team there.
All right. Well, you're going to have representation. One more shout out. The Florida conference is going to be coming up in May. Hometown has always had a big presence there. Are you going to be making it down to Florida? Great time to come to Florida in May.
I am not, unfortunately, going to be at the Florida show, but again, we will have awesome hometown representation there.
Well, I'm gonna start to think you're avoiding me, Jessica. Okay.
We'll have to sync up our calendars.
That's right. Well, we'll definitely see you in Austin in December. How's that?
That's
Okay.
correct. That is correct.
All right. One last item. You know, I've had you share a little bit about your background and some of the things that, you know, drew you to the hometown team. You shared very well, you know, some of the features that have impressed you since you've got there. What's coming down the road? I know you said there's going to a couple things coming up in the June, but you know, what's on the drawing board for next year and beyond? Can you share some of those insider secrets?
So yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. So, you know, as the executive team has been taking a step back and listening to our customers, listening to the hometown team employees, you know, social media is obviously important, and being able to post events, simplifying schedules and event creation. So some enhancements coming there to make that a much less painful process. Seat maps and reserve seating, so enhancing what that process looks like and making that much much simpler. Again, I already mentioned advanced reporting. We also have a partnership with School Funder, which is revolutionizing fundraising, online fundraising. So their platform and their business model was essentially built without having that 20% that is traditionally taken off of the top. Their business model is based on tips. So we're seeing tremendous success with coaches and ADs that are leaning into the School Funder partnership. So that's also something that if you haven't had a chance to explore yet, you can definitely reach out to the hometown team and we'll get you connected. We actually did a raffle for the Super Bowl tied to NADC, and referrals or to be able to see a demo of School Funder. And we actually were able to send an AD with 2 tickets, all expenses paid to the Super Bowl. So that was, really cool. So we'll be bringing out more promotions like that. But, the bottom line is our partnership with School Funder allows these communities, your communities, to keep 97% of everything that you raise. So that's been a game changer in the feedback that we're getting from our customers. But I mean, look, this year is Core in 24, which is focusing on K through 12 athletics and making sure that from a platform perspective, again, we're removing the friction, making it more seamless for you at the gate to be able to get people through, reduce the headaches of refunds, and just making sure that you have what you need. So this is going to be a big year for Hometown. We are putting a lot of preparation into the feedback that many of you who are probably listening have provided at some point.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. It's very exciting to hear about some of those additions. Very cool. One more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out, find out more, what's the best way they can do that?
Yes, thank you. Success at hometownticketing.com. We want to keep it as simple as possible.
Okay. Well, Jessica Tyrrell, Vice President for Customer Experience at Hometown, thanks so much for joining us today on Tech Tuesday, and all the best as we move forward with this spring sports season.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Oh, gosh, it's been our pleasure. It's also been our pleasure for our listeners. And we want to remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every week with best practices. So we hope you come back for another segment on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Well, before we go, as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. So, of course, we'll lead off with Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. We want to thank Snap Raise. Go to snapraise.com, hands down the best online fundraiser out there. Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Their website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. It's a great way to showcase your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame. The Ohio University Master of Science in Athletic Administration. Our facilities and operations worker got his master's through the Ohio University program. He's now the assistant athletic director, and some schools going to get a great AD. Check out the Ohio University Master of Science in Athletic Administration. We want to thank K-12 Sports Tech. Join their think tank. That's k12sportstech.com. We'd like to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. If you've never used a survey, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. We want to say thank you to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. You've heard me say before, probably the best purchase I ever made as an AD. Sidelineinteractive.com. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day, just like I did. Go to homecampus.com. We want to say thank you to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. Start creating world-class content for your school's social media channel. Gipper.com. And Huddle. I used it as a football coach. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to Huddle.com to get started. Thanks again for tuning in to this segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.